Good morning. It is a real pleasure for me to come to our community today with some old friends, some new friends, and some good news. I've spoken at length over the last several years about the evolution of the Prince George's County Police Department into one of the most progressive and effective departments in the country. That's a product of us choosing years ago to begin to take a progressive approach, a prevention orientation, and a strategy-based approach to crime fighting. That has been producing results consistently, and I have to thank the men and women standing behind you who are the ones that are making it happen day in and day out. The reality is that since 2010, we've seen consistent reductions in crime in this county, and I'm proud to say that in 2016, as we approach the end of the year, we have over a 10% reduction again. And I want to take a moment of personal privilege here and just thank our partners in the media. I appreciate you taking the time to talk about the apprehension we made of the individual who threatened lives via an application. It's an indication that we're becoming more sophisticated as a department. And it's also a warning to folks out there who think that this is funny. It is not funny to threaten, to harm, to shoot, to blow up people. My principle on that is simple. If you say you're going to blow up buildings and shoot people, then I believe you. It's not a joke. And when we apprehend you, we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. Again, this is an indication that people who thought up to this point you could hide in the forest of social media and carry these kind of threats out recklessly, we wouldn't be able to find you. Those days are gone. Which brings me to our conversation here today. All of these things fall broadly under what we're referring to as our 21st Century Policing Initiative in Prince George's County. Looking for ways to build upon our successes, looking for ways to use innovative approaches and technology to build our capacity and to be more effective. The first plank in that was the Nextdoor program. And I know you're all very familiar with Nextdoor. We see our enrollment in Nextdoor grow consistently, week over week, month over month. It is an opportunity for us to communicate with neighborhoods about neighborhoods. And here I'm just going to pause for a second and introduce one of those old friends, Joe Porcelli, and invite him up to say a few words about Nextdoor and their partnership with us here at Prince George's County. Joe?
Thank you, sir. Good morning. My name is Joseph Porcelli, and I'm the Senior City Strategist for Nextdoor in the Northeast and Nextdoor's professional neighbor. It's an honor to be here today, and we're very proud of our partnership with the Prince George's County Police Department. Something extraordinary has happened here since July of 2015 when we started working together. There are now over 285 neighborhood networks throughout the county and thousands of them in the greater Washington, D.C. area where neighbors are joining, connecting, communicating, and working together to address challenges and problems in their neighborhood, to be of service to each other. Perhaps this winter folks will offer their help to shovel each other out, and to work with, especially here in Prince George's County, each of the community-oriented policing officers who have access to our government interface and communicate with the residents in their beat about things going on and providing them direction on where they need to focus their attention, and soon, probably starting this afternoon or tomorrow, to help them learn about crime prevention tactics like what we're introducing today for SmartWater. So if you haven't already joined Nextdoor, please go to nextdoor.com to sign up. You can also go to the App Store and download the app. When you go to sign up, simply put in your address, your email, and we will place you in the Nextdoor network where you live, and you'll start connecting and communicating with your neighbors and receiving with and working with your cops officers to solve problems and build community in your neighborhoods. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Joe. The key to Nextdoor is it's a way to bring the department to you. We know that you're busy people. We know you have things that are important to you. You don't always have the time to come to community meetings. This is a way for us to communicate, to connect, and to build a relationship without you having to take time and come to us. We are coming to you, and I appreciate Joe and I appreciate Nextdoor for providing us that opportunity. Which brings us to really why we're here today, and that's the second and third plank in our 21st Century Policing Initiative. The second plank, I'm proud to announce, is our partnership with SmartWater. SmartWater is a company with a proven track record of reducing crime in the United Kingdom, and we're very proud to begin a relationship with them that we think will have an impact right here in Prince George's County. And we're doing that principally for 3 reasons. The first is, right now, in our community, the only real hazard to a thief is that process by which they are taking and carrying away an item. The reality is, in our community and others, that once they have that item and they get it away from the scene, the likelihood of us apprehending them with the item, associating them with the item, and prosecuting them for that crime diminishes rapidly from the moment they walk away to a point where not too long after the crime, it becomes very difficult for us to hold that person accountable. Why SmartWater is important is because that's over effective today. SmartWater is a silent and invisible witness that means that that offender now can be tracked back to that crime days, weeks, even years later. It is a powerful tool. And the difference it will make in Prince George's County is that although you've taken and carrying away the item, that item can still be associated with its owner, that item can be associated with the thief, and we can build those cases and hold people accountable. The second reason, and this is an important one, is about capacity. I talked about the good work that the men and women in this room are doing day in and day out. What we want to do is build a structure that perpetuates prevention. The idea behind SmartWater is that we drive down, through deterrence, property crimes. That means patrol officers have fewer crimes to respond to and calls for service to attend to. That means that detectives have fewer cases to investigate and to close, and allows all of that energy and capacity to be focused on prevention initiatives. Again, prevention-oriented, strategy-based. This is where the strategy puts us in a position to advance prevention. We drive that volume down, and it becomes a self-perpetuating cycle where we have more time to be thoughtful about prevention, and we continue to drive that crime rate down. Capacity is a big part of why this is an important initiative for me. And the last piece I want to talk about very briefly is the burgeoning hospitality industry and the thriving now and promising future for our business community. All of that jeopardized by the illicit economy. So just briefly, by an example, a smartphone. It costs several $100s to manufacture. It has to be packaged. It has to be shipped. Someone has to buy that at a wholesale price point and put it into a store with overhead and then hire employees to sell it. So that while it's costing several $100s to the consumer, the profit margin may be $10, $20, $30, $40. The illicit economy means that the criminal can steal that phone worth several $100s and sell it for $50, and that's a $50 profit to them. And what's been the case up to today is that it's very difficult to associate that thief with that item at that crime scene. SmartWater changes all of that. And we give business a larger purchase in our community. We help them to thrive. And we grow our vibrant economy in Prince George's County by focusing on something that heretofore we have not given as much attention as we should. Why? Because we were attending to other issues. Now is the time. We've made so much progress to begin to unwind this. And that brings me to the opportunity to introduce you to Mr. Phil Cleary from SmartWater to talk for a few minutes about this product. Phil, it's a pleasure, and please, come up.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk today about SmartWater. As you can tell from my accent, I'm from the UK. I'm Chief Executive and co-founder of SmartWater. And I'm going to give you some headlines to take away in terms of what we've achieved in the UK, which we hope to bring here. We've been working with the Metropolitan Police in London for over a year now in the process of marking 440,000 homes in London. And we're a third of the way through it. And in the areas protected by SmartWater, burglary is down by 27.5%. Now that's a fantastic figure, but that translates to 18,000 police officer hours saved for them to do other things, which is a great investment by the Metropolitan Police, and they're really pleased. I'm going to talk quickly about how the technology works, and we'll give a demonstration later. But my days as a police officer, my major frustration was I knew who the burglars were and who the robbers were. I'd go to great lengths, and my colleagues would go to great lengths arresting them, processing them, sometimes getting injured in the process. But frequently, pretty well all the time, I couldn't prove the recovered property was stolen. I couldn't prove who the real owner was. And the justice system in the US is exactly the same. It is the responsibility of the police to prove where it was stolen from. I can't claim the credit for the development of SmartWater. My brother's the genius behind it. He's the scientist. But basically, it's a liquid. It's like water, and it has a unique signature in. And we did try and use DNA in the early days, so it's like DNA. It's unique to each household. But DNA is a fragile substance, and sunlight and humidity kills it off. So we turned to different technology. We called it smart technology, and we give each home a unique liquid for them to mark their most precious possessions, and they register it on our database simply by dabbing it on. They just dab it onto the item, and then it's registered on the database, and we make it available for the police. They detect it with a UV black light, and I can just show you now with this UV black light. My watch jewelry, I think it's safe to say, is possibly the second most popular item stolen during the course of a burglary after cash. I think that's correct, Chief. And this watch is difficult. You don't want to put micro dots on this. You don't want to put anything that will make it unsightly. But this watch has SmartWater on it, and it's unique to me. And for a police officer to identify that it has SmartWater on it, just use this black light, and you can see it glows bright yellow. And all our scientists need is a speck of that solution to identify who their owner is. And it's extremely difficult for the criminal fraternity to remove, and it makes the possession of stolen property very risky for the fencers as well, and they're the people we target. The strategy is quite complex. We're working with the chief and his team to implement it, and we're very encouraged by the enthusiasm his officers are showing for the program. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That brings me to a brief note about the third plank in our 21st century policing platform, and it's one that you're familiar with, but we've chose to reimagine it and bring it to the table and take it forward in a new way. One of the ways that this initiative is being funded is through Crime Solvers, an organization that our friends in the media are already familiar with. But Crime Solvers see the opportunity in this to actually prevent crime, as opposed to helping us close crimes that already occurred. And that's in keeping with where we've been going. Again, that prevention orientation. So what I'm going to ask of our community-oriented police officers as they take this product into the community is to take with them, in every instance, the Crime Solvers number and have a brief conversation with our community, again, about Crime Solvers, because Nextdoor allows us to communicate, but there are things that people know and they're uncomfortable talking about them, even with a confidant like their cops officer. Crime Solvers allows people to have that information brought to our attention confidentially. And why am I encouraging that? Again, it comes back to that illicit economy. Individuals who steal from you and derive only profit from that, pay no overhead, undermine legitimate business, but they're also driving up the cost of products to you as members of this community, and they're driving up insurance rates to you as members of this community. And that's where we together can make a huge impact using communication technologies like Nextdoor, using prevention technologies like SmartWater, and using tried and true methods like Crime Solvers. So, and very briefly, Crime Solvers, 1-866-411-TIPS. But I can do better than that. I'm going to ask Mr. Michael Errico and Mr. Jay Perry from Crime Solvers to come up and say a few words. These gentlemen have been a huge supporter of all of these initiatives, and it's my privilege to introduce them to you now.
Thank you, Chief. I'm Mike Errico, on the Board of Directors of Crime Solvers, but also President of the Prince George's County Police Foundation, which is a separate organization completely independent from the county that's charged with raising funding to help the department on new initiatives, particularly the ones like SmartWater. And we're very pleased that we were able to make a very significant contribution to launching this program. And with our partners at Crime Solvers matching it, it was able to get this program off the ground in a very large way, and it's pretty exciting to us. And as I think we hope that it'll be supported big by the community. Contributions that continue to come into both the Crime Solvers and the foundation enable us to raise more money to give the department to do the initiatives they want to do. Jay?
Sure. My name is Jay Perry. I'm the president of the Crime Solvers, and we've been around since 1981 supporting the police department, primarily through getting tips that lead to arrests. So first off, I just want to applaud the chief and the police department for forward thinking here using this technology, and we're just proud to find another way to support the police department and move it in a progressive way. So thank you.
So with that, I'll ask if there's any questions. The method of launch for this will be primarily focused on residential communities in our 9 T&I areas. And in case there's questions about that, I do have Linda Turner, the manager of our T&I program in Prince George's County, appointed by our county executive, Mr. Baker. So, questions?
How many other communities in the U.S. are doing it? I think I saw one mention of Boynton Beach near Fort Lauderdale.
Phil, I'll let you handle that.
I'll refer to Antonio. It's about 30 cities using it currently in South Florida primarily.
And the one story that I thought that was kind of interesting was apparently they put the signs up in this neighborhood near Fort Lauderdale, and the crime dropped dramatically in that neighborhood, and the burglars went to the next neighborhood, and the crime went up dramatically there by 20-something%. Thoughts on that?
Well, again, we're a prevention-oriented, strategy-based department. The concept of displacement had been introduced to us years ago as we put some of our strategies in place, and frankly, it's one of the things that we thought through carefully before we launched T&I. Our strategies are not going to be focused in such a manner as to displace crime. We're going to put parallel enforcement mechanisms in place to ensure that we don't have displacement. And at the end of this process, what we're looking to do is what we've done successfully so far. You haven't seen displacement in the metropolitan area based on the fact that crimes dropped precipitously in Prince George's County. We've just stopped people from offending, and that's the goal here as well.
What kind of costs associated with this, and will it take another branch of the department to keep track of all of this? You're saying that it's a complicated system to begin. How does that work?
So it's a complex system, and it's a sophisticated technology, but we already have ready mechanisms in our community-oriented police officers who, again, are already using Nextdoor to communicate. They're already doing proactive crime prevention. They're doing security surveys of homes. This is just another piece in that prevention arsenal for them to take forward. In terms of the costing, that's where, again, I have to thank the Police Foundation and Crime Solvers for providing the funding for this. It's one of those initiatives that it just makes sense, but if it had to come strictly out of the budget of the department, we're not certain we could do this. So that's where the Police Foundation, Crime Solvers, and our partners in the community have put us in a position to succeed. And I have to thank them because what that expresses to me is a sense of trust in this department to go out, to work hard, to prevent crime, and to represent them well. And again, that's where I have to thank the people in the back of this room for doing that every day.
So how much does it cost, I'm sorry?
Okay, so up to this point, we're initially launching it with a $50,000 investment, which will protect several hundred homes in the 9 T&I areas. And then there's another piece of technology that we're currently working with SmartWater. We'll be talking about that in the future. And then we're going to continue to deploy the program as we expand the program into other areas. There will be a separate initiative that we're talking about right now. While this part that we're talking about today is primarily focused on residential protection, there will be a business program as well because there's tremendous value in loss prevention to this.
Did you go over who's going to bear the cost of this and how much it might cost? I think we can.
Again, this is funded entirely by contributions from our Police Foundation and by Crime Solvers.
How much is the cost to them per house?
Well, there's no cost to the community for those homes that we'll be providing it to.
I understand, but how much is the cost to the foundation? How much are you paying?
So the initial investment is $50,000.
Someone seeing the story doesn't live in Prince George's County or is not in that area that you just mentioned, what the program will start with. If they, as individuals, consumers, want to purchase this product, can you tell us what the cost is?
Well, and that's where I'll turn it back over to SmartWater. But yes, what I will say is that while we are working to provide this protection to our communities, obviously we will never be in a place to protect all of Prince George's County with this technology. SmartWater does make this available to the public, and I'm going to ask Mr. Query or his team to come up here and talk about how the public could immediately participate in this program.
Yes, we're introducing through our website, smartwatercsi.com, a scheme where residents can get their own forensic signature for their exclusive use, and to mark 10 of their most precious items on our database is going to cost $4.99 a month. $4.99 a month, yeah.
A month?
Yeah. Yeah.
In your experience in these other cities where you've already been using this technology, does this increase the chance that a belonging would be recovered by police, or is it simply a tool for investigating and catching criminals?
It's both. It's primarily a deterrent. We don't want people to be burgled. We want to stop it. So we put fear and anxiety into the criminal mind, into the people who buy the stolen stuff, who in the past have nothing to worry about. Now they have a lot to worry about. It's all about creating a hostile environment for the criminal fraternity. I call it an iron fist and a velvet glove. This is the velvet glove. This is engaging with the community and protecting them. But we have an iron fist element, which we'll be talking about later on down the line.
Do you have any competitors?
Not that I'm aware of. And if I did, I wouldn't tell you. Yeah.
It's clear you may not want to give away your secret, but what's in the water?
I wish I knew. I'm not a scientist. No, seriously. We use inorganic material because it's really tough. You can set fire to SmartWater and still get the signature out. And this is where it becomes very useful for protecting copper wire networks or catalytic converters. It's extremely tough solution. So it's inorganic material, rare earths. It's perfectly safe. It conforms to US health and safety legislation and European health and safety legislation. And to emphasize the point, we don't use DNA because it's a fragile substance, DNA, but it's like DNA. It's unique to every household. Every application is unique.
So if it's on your watch, you can go through security at the airport and it's not going to trigger an alarm?
Absolutely, correct. In fact, I got through the airport like a dream a couple of days ago, no problem at all.
You can go on any type of surface?
Yeah, we have special solutions for special applications. So if you're in a commercial environment and you want to, say, put it onto an aircon unit, we have to make a special solution for that because it gets extremely hot. But and we also have special solutions for applications to skin. But we'll talk more about that down the line.
Is there more property crime in the T&I area than in other parts of the county?
The reality is that the T&I areas are T&I areas because they tend to be overrepresented in need across a broad spectrum of indicators. Why we're doing it in the T&I areas is because with Linda's leadership, we have a ready model. It's a discrete area, and most importantly, and this comes back to the foundation of T&I, it's a system we understand. We can track that. Part of this is it has to be effective. And so we chose the T&I areas because as we track T&I and see its effect and the positive things that it's bringing to our community, we can also track this in that discrete area and see how effective it's being, and then make good decisions about how we expand the program.
Can you give us any sense of the scale of the crime, of burglary and so forth? I mean, do you have a number?
So last year we had slightly over 10,000 offenses of property crime in Prince George's County. But that's trending down over several years. Every year over year we've had less. And in point of fact, we have had 1,800 fewer such property crimes in Prince George's County this year. But that comes back to something you've heard me talk to you about in the past. That's extraordinary efforting. That's police officers out there aggressively patrolling. That's detectives working cases quickly and closing them so that the opportunity to reoffend doesn't occur. What this tool does is build our capacity. Because as Mr. Cleary was pointing out, if individuals know that the property that they're going to put themselves at hazard to take poses a hazard to them perpetually because it associates property with owners, it associates thieves with property and crimes, that whole network will discourage people from participating in the first place because now there's a consequence. And we like the idea of returning stolen property to people. God forbid we shouldn't prevent it.
Discouraged, but it still is not impossible. I mean, if I, God forbid, steal something and sell it, one-on-one to somebody else, and you don't bust them for something at some point down the road.
That's a great question, but bear in mind that all of crime is a calculus. The offender has to ask themselves, is the hazard that I'm going to undertake to take this item more or less than the value of the item to me? And what SmartWater does for Prince George's County is say, the hazard to you is now significantly greater than it's ever been, because this can come back to you days, weeks, and like I said, even years later. Whereas right now, the hazard attaches to maybe 30 seconds or a minute.
Can you explain how exactly you make that connection? Is this communicating or working with pawn shops? Is this when you have a search warrant, you go in someone's house, you use a black light? How do you
It quite frankly is all of those things, and it's a complex system, but we'll work with those people in pawn. We have detectives who are assigned to that task anyways. We'll be working with the community. We'll be screening individuals that we arrest. We will be talking about this with the community and expanding the program. And then there's other pieces to this program that we're going to continue to develop, and then we'll expand and talk to you about them in the near future. There is a violent crime application for this, and we'll be exploring that as well.
There is a product called SmartWater that's on the market right now. You can buy it at 7-Eleven. Any concerns that there might be some confusion?
Well, we don't encourage anybody to drink our SmartWater. And beyond that, I think that our friends in the public and certainly our cops officers will be able to clear up any confusion that might occur. I'll defer to Mr. Query on that.
We actually trademarked SmartWater before COVID, so we might sue. No, there's no issues. I will not get too legal about it, but we're in two market sectors. It's like Ford cars and Ford hotels. They're still Ford, but they're in different market sectors.
So do you have,
Think of Apple Records and Apple iPhone.
Last question.
Last question.
so do you have like, people have ADT stickers on their house?
Yes.
Or whatever. There's stickers that you could put by your door, so if the criminal comes in to steal it.
What I'll ask you to do, please, is take a moment after we conclude here. There will be a presentation by Mr. Query. We'll walk you through all those various components associated with the program, but it does include window stickers, it does include signage in communities, and it includes registration of the property with SmartWater, which puts them into our network, whether they go through the process that we're launching today as a department, or whether they independently buy it as a consumer and join the program on their own. Thank you, everybody. I certainly appreciate it.